Do atheists have a burden of proof? Or is this yet another theist with no clue how logic, reason, or critical thought actually functions? Step up and place your bets, because I bet absolutely no one will put their money down on that first option. Because the religious, especially on YouTube, are just ignorant fools. Today, we're going to take a look at a video on the A Bit of Orange channel claiming that atheists have the burden of proof for something. We're not exactly sure what, and he's not exactly clear on why, especially since he can't demonstrate that any of the things that he attributes to atheists were actually ever claimed by atheists. There's a whole lot of citations needed here. Too bad he can't come up with any. So let's go take a look and a good laugh at A Bit of Orange as he makes a massive fool of himself. What the hell else is new?
Actually, atheists, you do have the burden of proof.
Not so much, but this is clearly someone with a bizarre taste in headwear who hasn't gotten a clue what any of this actually means. So let's go take a look. In any logical sense, the burden of proof is defined as the burden of proof, called in Latin onus probandi, is an obligation to provide sufficient supporting evidence for any arguments that you make. Yet the religious, instead of accurately using the term, they engage what is called the burden of proof fallacy, which is also a special case in the argument from ignorance, which is a fallacy of putting the burden of proof on the person who denies or questions the assertion being made. And that's all atheists are doing. We're looking at your beliefs and we're saying, we don't believe you. We are making absolutely no claims of our own. So come on, stop looking like a fool.
Atheists all the time be telling me that they don't have to think, reason, or answer questions.
Except that's all we're doing when we're looking at your claims and finding them entirely wanting. All we are doing is pointing out that the things that you believe and the claims that you are making don't make any sense at all in the real world. They lack any kind of corroboratory evidence, any logical coherence, or any factual demonstration. And that's why they are unwarranted to believe in the first place. Yet, the religious, they don't believe things for good, logical, intellectual reasons. They do it because their beliefs make them feel good. And that's not rational. So we're allowed to point that out, and they can't be running around with the goalposts.
They insist that they do not have the burden of proof.
Only if we are making any actual claims. And you're going to have to point out to us what these specific claims are that are being actually made by actual atheists that you expect us to back up. Because I'm perfectly happy to do so if you can actually find any claims that have come out of my mouth. And good luck on that. Instead, I'll predict he's just going to interpret things that we say in ways that we never intended so that he can try to shift the burden of proof over to us, mostly because he's got absolutely nothing at all intelligent to say on his own blind faith. Let's see if I'm right.
However, my atheist friends, you do have the burden of proof. You are the ones making the ridiculous claims.
Such as, please cite specific examples that you can actually show we've actually made. Keep in mind that atheism is not a collective. It's not a faith. It's not a religion. It's a bunch of individuals whose only point in common is that we don't believe in gods. So if you want me to back up anything that you think I've claimed, you're going to have to find things that I have actually said if you want me to back those things up. And good luck on that. But anyhow, get on with it. It's going to be entertaining to see just how completely wrong you can be.
You are claiming that the universe made itself, life made itself, and information can write itself with no author.
And just where has any atheist ever actually done any of that? Citation needed. Please produce anything written by an atheist, anything that an atheist has said in a video where they have made any of those specific claims. You can't because it's pretty clear that it hasn't actually happened. It's about as silly as the religious running around telling atheists that we worship the devil. Well, we don't worship anything, you imbecilic twit. That's kind of the whole point.
And that the laws of physics and chemistry, which cause an increase in entropy, actually cause an increase in complexity and information.
Yeah, you don't understand physics, do you? You don't understand that the single most well-ordered moment in our universe was the instant of the Big Bang. Everything that you see around you is simply a degradation of that order. This is really why the religious look so dumb, because, well, they are. A uniformly hot, dense, evenly distributed field of quarks accurately describes an extraordinarily low entropic system. The religious then go on to interpret, wrongly, what entropy means because they have a vested interest in seeing this degradation as something important. Geez, get a high school level education already. Stop being so dumb.
That's beyond absurd, so you have the burden of proof.
Except we didn't say that. You did. You are demonstrably ignorant of the relevant terminology, and you're just forcing your own demonstrably wrong ideas on us and expecting us to back them up. Again, prove any atheist has ever said what you are claiming that we say. Go ahead. Produce evidence. You know, that stuff that you can actually demonstrate objectively. I'm not going to be holding my breath.
You have to argue against all established scientific laws. That's a big burden of proof.
You mean those things that we are 100% in accordance with? It's you that doesn't comprehend science. I mean, seriously, at least pretend that you're capable of doing any kind of research at all before you go vomit things all over YouTube and make a complete fool of yourself. Pretend! You know, like you do with those silly beliefs you have.
You are claiming to be a self, one unified, self-aware mind, capable of logic and reason and discerning between good and evil, and yet none of those things can be true if atheism were true.
And how exactly do you know that? Because it seems like you're the one making all of the unsupported and unsubstantiated claims. You have just made a claim. Now it's your responsibility to back it up. Go ahead. I guess it's the burden of proof for thee, but not for me, huh? That's not exactly a surprise, given that's how just about every religious apologist I've ever looked at here operates. And yes, I can back that up. I've got an extensive backlist of videos to prove it.
So you are making a ridiculous claim, and you have the burden of proof.
No, you are making the ridiculous claim, and you're desperately trying to push your claim on us. You still haven't shown where we actually made any claim at all. You're just assigning a position to us, a position you haven't actually proven that we have, and demanding that we do all of the work to prove your straw man is true. Yeah, it doesn't actually work that way, sorry.
You have to argue against all known laws of logic. That's a big burden of proof.
Yeah, why do I think he isn't going to have any idea what logic is either? I mean, we already know he has no clue about the burden of proof. He's demonstrated that conclusively enough. We know his scientific knowledge is pretty much zero. That's obvious, but it'll be interesting to see just how badly he manages to screw up all of logic. I guess we'll have to prepare to be amazed.
And I am asserting that you already know that God exists. You've already acknowledged much of a biblical worldview and rejected much of an atheistic worldview.
Which is complete bullshit. And hey, you just made another assertion. Prove it. It's entirely on your shoulders. Let's see you dig your way out of that one. Oh wait, you're not even going to try? Well, that's a surprise, isn't it? It's a typical Christian double standard. They get complete latitude to make whatever emotionally comforting claims they like. They don't have to prove a damn thing, and then they can out and out lie about the opposition and hold them to an entirely separate standard, where now we have to back up things that we don't even say because, Looney Tune here seems to think that we should.
Which means you have to argue against your own religious professions of faith. That's a big burden of proof.
Those things that we don't have, because atheism isn't a religion, and neither is science. Seriously, somebody call the men in the white coats with those love me jackets, the tie in the back? I think we've got an escapee. Or an idiot. Vote in the comments which one you think it is.
Or you can stop trying to defend the impossible. Stop trying to avoid thinking about your own worldview and just ask more good questions.
We do. You just have no good answers. That's really all this is. It's a dodge. It's an attempt to shift the actual burden of proof because the religious get tired of being in the crosshairs. But we're not the ones making any claims. We're the ones pointing out that you have nothing at all to back up your claims. And that's the absolute truth. Maybe you ought to actually try coming up with rational, evidentially derived, objectively demonstrable answers for all of the silly things that you believe. But nope, you can't do that. You just have to make a fool of yourself on camera and pretend like we have to do it instead.
I sincerely believe that you are not stupid enough to be an atheist.
Sorry, but I think you are every bit stupid enough to be a Christian. The entire video has proven that pretty conclusively. You don't understand logic, you don't understand reason, you don't have a clue about science, you're nowhere remotely close to honesty, and you think that you're automatically right while everybody else who disagrees with you is automatically wrong because fifis. Do you understand what a child you're acting like? No, I didn't think so.
You need to believe that too. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help. And remember, Jesus loves you.
Well, that's your claim. How about you back that up? Oh, right, double standards. I keep forgetting. Maybe that's because I'm honest and he's not. But what religious apologist actually is? Which ones are standing up at the podium presenting actual, demonstrable evidence for the things that they preach? That would be, none, zero, zip, zilch, because they simply don't exist. Instead, you get idiots standing there preaching to the choir, talking about atheists rather than to atheists. And as expected, this doofus is getting soundly downvoted on his video. Absolutely everyone is pointing out that he has no clue what the hell he's talking about and that he's a laughable joke. But he's got delusional beliefs about pretty much everything, so yeah, of course he is. What else could he be? This is the same kind of, well, it seems to me thinking that we see from the religious every day. It's an attempt to apply quote-unquote common sense by people who have absolutely no common sense. They think they've got a pretty good handle on reality when all they have is religious goggles and an irrationality filter that everything must pass through before it hits what they consider to be their brains. They aren't thinking, they're feeling. They don't understand, they invent. They make it up and then convince themselves that they've got to have it all right, even though they've demonstrably got it all wrong. And then they tell us that we've got the problem. Yeah, not so much. It's you. It's all you. It's always been you. Get it through your head.
Bum